doing? How was your week?
Pretty good, I guess. So I didn't get a chance to tell you last session that it completely slipped my mind that it was like that weekend
Uh-huh.
that I was doing like a mini tournament on Saturday mixed, and then
Uh,
also a round robin on Sunday
uh-huh.
uh, in Tustin.
Oh, cool.
But I have footage of the tournament, the round robin in Tustin,
Uh-huh.
and we could look at, and then the mixed session, the mixed mini mixed tournament at a local park.
Mhm.
Um, Kind of brought up a question that I have for you, and
Yeah.
then yeah, so that was pretty much it. How was your week?
Good. Yeah, it's always the same. Lots of pickleball.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. I'm going to Florida this weekend though. And then
Great.
I'll be in Florida for a couple weeks. So yeah, should be good.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
luck.
Thanks. What question did you have from the
Okay, so the first question I have, um, I just also thought of one more question. Hold on one second.
yeah.
Um, okay, the first question I have was kind of came up when I was playing mixed um, at a local small tournament at the park,
Mhm.
and um, I was expecting them. I thought it would be more casual, but they really targeted my partner a lot, which I felt really bad about. Um, but then the main question I had was like they also started lobbing her a lot,
Yeah.
and um, like I didn't know how to help, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, so like they're lobbing her a lot, and I'm just like thinking about like how can I get more involved, and what is like how do I do that, and how do I broach it to my partner without because she wasn't she's not very competitive, and I'm not a very competitive person either,
Sure.
but I still want to help her,
Sure.
and because like she was being targeted so much.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to like stay competitive. It kind of relates to another question, which is like I don't know how to stay competitive when my partner is not competitive, and then also it kind of relates to the other question of how do I handle another person being very competitive, you know?
Uh,
So
okay. So like four questions, I think.
yeah, I'm
So
sorry. There's like
no,
four questions.
you're good. So if they're loving your partner, I mean, the way you're going to be able to help more is if you're on the left side and your partner's on the right side. Because if you're on the right side and they lob over your partner, you're now having to probably do a backhand overhead. If not, you're gonna have to move a lot to get to that to hit it with your forehand. So, but if you're on the left side, if they lob it over your partner, you take 2 or 3 steps over and you've got a forehand overhead. So, I mean, that's probably the best way to help with that is if you're on the left and your partner's on the right. So you could try stacking if that is like is that if that's a huge problem. Another thing is I mean, if your partner can be like 1 or 2 steps back, and your team can do that, then it's going to be a lot easier for her to hit her
Oh,
own overheads.
yeah. No,
So
no, I think that's a great idea because if she takes a couple steps back, then I could also help out on the middle. I could take more of the
yeah,
middle too. Yeah.
yeah, you think of like Jessie Irvin, she's back 2 solid steps. It's not for overheads, but also when she plays with someone like Jay, Jay can step in and take whatever he wants comfortably, and they're not going to clash because he's going to be in front of her. So, anyways, yeah, there's some benefit with that too. But yeah, usually, like if I'm 2 or 3 steps back when they lob me, they're in big trouble. Like if I'm all the way up, they might get it past me, but if I'm 2 or 3 steps back, I mean, usually I don't even have to jump. It's just it's a lot easier. So yeah, I would recommend that. You can try stacking. Um, yeah, that's and then the last one is if you can put a little more pressure with your shots, like you hit your dinks with a little more intent, or you like move your opponent, it's going to be a lot harder for them to hit really good lobs. So then you're not going to have to hit. It's going to be a lot easier to hit good overheads if they're not hitting really good lobs. So yeah, that's one way, but that's also more of a her thing, because if she's seeing the balls and she's not putting pressure with her dinks, then they're going to be able to lob it. They're going to be able to, they have a lot more options. So yeah, I would say things you can do: stack, and then see if you can recommend her stepping back, and then if you can help her cover, then that could be fine. Okay, so that's lobs. Let's see, what's the next one?
The next one was um if my partner is not competitive, but
Yeah.
I still want to like do well, um, how do I stay in that mindset without it like putting pressure on the other person?
Yeah, I mean, have we gone over stats at all, where like your own personal stats?
My own personal stats? No, no, we have
Uh,
not.
okay, so basically the idea is every time you touch the ball, if they miss your shot, you get like a +1. It's a winner. Like even if you hit a really bad shot, they miss, doesn't really, like at the end of the day, they miss because of you, even if they messed up. So it's a +1. And then if you miss, even if they hit a really good shot at you, that's a -1. And then if you want to get more technical, if you pop it up really high and they smash it at your partner, that's a minus, like a half of a minus. And then if you set up your partner for success, that's a half for you. So the main ones is how many winners you have, how many times you hit the ball and then you miss, versus how many times you hit the ball and win. Uh, yeah, I mean that's the simplest way. So if you are equal, that means you're not doing bad for your team. You're not doing good for your team. If you're missing more than you're winning, then you're now bad for your team. And then if you hit twice as many winners as you miss, then most likely your team's gonna win. As long as your partner's not doing awful, you're probably gonna win. And then if both of you are making twice as many as you miss, you're going to win. Like it's really hard to lose at that point. So basically, if you're wanting to take it a little more serious and your partner's not, like honestly, a lot of it you can't control your partner.
Yeah, yeah, of
But
course. Yeah, I wouldn't put any pressure on my partner at all. Yeah, I just want
yeah,
to see what I could do within my own control. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, your partner could be having the worst day of their life at pickleball, etc. They might not care. You can't control them as much, but you can control yourself. So, and honestly, you can't control the game score as much as you'd like. Your partner could be playing really bad. Your opponents could be playing really, really good. And like you're playing good, but they're playing better that day. You can't control that. So what you can control is, I mean, relatively, you can control how many winners and how many errors you get. And if you focus harder and you really focus on those two things of hitting more winners and not missing as much, then you're probably going to play better. So even if your partner, like sometimes my partner will just be playing awful, I'm like, don't worry about that. Worry about myself. What is my personal score? And so that can help a fair bit, because then you're not worried about the score or your partner. You're not distracted by that. You're more worried about yourself. You're like, okay, I've hit 3 winners and I've missed 2. Okay, keep going. I can do this. So yeah, that's something you could try. If anything, it gives you something to think about other than your partner. Um, yeah, I mean that's probably the easiest one. And then
No, no, that sounds great. Actually,
okay,
can I just kind of summarize a little bit?
sure,
So you get a point when you hit the ball and they miss, right?
yeah,
And then you get you lose a half a point when you hit the ball too, if you pop the ball too high up.
yeah,
And yeah. and then you also lose a half a point when I forget.
You get a full point if you hit it, they miss. If you hit like a crazy winner and then they pop it up to your partner and they put it away, that's a half point.
Right,
So
right.
that's how you gain points. How you lose points is if you miss a shot, that's a -1, and then if you pop it up and they then smash it at your partner, or if you basically set your partner up for failure, that's
Yeah.
that's a -1/2. So the halves are a little more complicated. The main one is the winners and losers, but if you want to be more precise, the setting up and setting up for and against your partner is important.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that I would say that one is really good for not worrying as much about your partner, because then, I mean, it doesn't matter what they're doing, you're focused on yourself. And then, I mean, if you can kind of decide beforehand what you're doing in the tournament or in the game. Like if you're like, I really want to win and I'm taking this serious, you can take it as serious as you want. Or maybe they ticked you off and you're like, okay, I'm going to take it serious now. Like you're not going to win now, bro. I mean, sometimes people will be taking it super serious, and I'm working on a couple things, and I don't care if I win or lose. Like that's not what I'm trying to do in that game. Or maybe you're just trying to have a really good time with your mixed partner, and it doesn't matter as much if you win or lose. So I mean, it just depends on your objective, what you're really trying to do. And then just stick to your objective or change your objective. And if someone else is like acting a little obtuse or absurd, like they're just way over the top, I mean, you can kind of laugh about it with your partner, or you can destroy them to punish them. I mean, yeah.
Cool. So this is also related to these questions is so I have a league match tonight. And so going back to me being the worst one, right?
Okay, yeah, sure.
So me being the worst one, and I do feel a lot of pressure to do well because other people are better than me, and then they also target me. So now I'm on like the other end of it. People kind of target me. And so do you have any advice on my league game tonight, where like I'm most likely going to be targeted? And yeah.
I don't know, for me the two main things I do is first one is I'll be like, I want the ball. Like for example, I know if I get picked on in most matchups, our team's probably going to win. It's like I'm confident in myself, and maybe there's less reason to be confident, but if you act confident, even if you're not, good things relatively happen. Like you should play better if you're feeling confident. It doesn't mean play foolish or stupid, but be smart, but be confident. That does help. Like if you act like you don't belong on the court, then you're probably not going to belong on the court. But if you think you do, then you might not, but you have a much better chance. And then the other one is, I mean, just cutting out distractions with your own personal score. It's like, okay, like they're picking on me, but as long as your personal score is even, now your partner can hopefully carry you. Or if you have a two winners to every loss, then you're doing really good for your team. So more focus on that. Worry less about being picked on.
Okay. Worry about less about being picked on, confidence.
Yeah.
And just want ball, just have that mentality. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and also it's a great opportunity. If you're seeing most of the balls, then you have a great chance to improve.
Oh yeah, I like that idea of like think of it as an opportunity. Yeah,
it's an opportunity to, and this isn't something to be nervous about. It's an opportunity to show what you got. It's an opportunity to improve. Lots of good things. I would rather be picked on than my partner be picked on. I think it's a good thing.
I agree with you. I'd rather be picked on than my partner be picked on. You feel helpless when your partner's getting picked on. You just feel, yeah, you just feel like, oh, I can't help you. Like, it's hard.
Yeah, so I mean, just think of just be like, well, at least they're not picking on my partner. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah. So that should help. Yeah, try. There's a couple of different things we've talked about. Try them. They can work in different situations too. But yeah,
Cool. Thank you so much, Austin. All
yeah,
right. So either we can go over some game tape from my Tustin tournament,
yeah.
or I have an idea of like, um should I change up my drilling or anything like that?
Um, well, let's do a tiny bit checkup on the drilling. What are you up to?
So I'm doing volleying, and I'm doing I got somebody that's like he's like a high school tennis coach,
Mhm.
and I got him to like blast it at me.
Good.
and, and I'm at the kitchen like just shaking, just like trying to block these shots. Like
Yeah.
I know they're going out, but like I'm just practicing and just kind of just blocking these shots. But you know, some of them might go out, some of them might not. They're just so fast that I just can't get out of the way, you know. Uh,
Sure.
and so I'm doing that. I'm working on my blocking, and then I'm also doing that speed up game, like two dinks and speeding it up.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then yeah, I just mainly focusing on that. Like you were telling me to just focus on just a couple of different drills as opposed to doing a bunch of
Good.
different kind of drills. So I just been kind of focusing on that with the drilling. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, if as long as you're not like completely dominating, or if you're not doing very good at a drill, that means you need to keep doing it.
Okay.
So that's do you feel like you're still good with these then? I mean, do you feel like you have
Yeah,
room to
yeah,
improve?
yeah. And I think my question kind of the idea of changing it up was kind of based off of your other video about
Okay.
like learning something new. And with that whole entire shake and bake thing, you did a video on that.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about like, should I work on any new shots, you know? But yeah, maybe I should just continue to just do what I'm doing. And another reason why I was thinking about um, mixing it up as well was my experience in this Tustin round robin.
Hmm.
Uh, I ended up not, you know, working on those things. You know, like I didn't volley a lot. I didn't
Yeah.
get into a lot of firefights. I didn't. They didn't drive it at me a lot. You know,
Sure.
so it just felt like all my drilling didn't really get used in the round robin. So then that was why I was thinking about like, oh, maybe I should add something or change it up or
Mhm.
anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for example, if I'm playing someone who drives it a lot, if I hit two or three really good blocks, usually they'll stop driving it, or I keep winning hopefully with the blocks. So oftentimes, for example, if you had a really really good overhead and they lobbed you and you just destroyed the overhead, then they're probably not going to lob you again. So like your overhead served its purpose. So anyways, if you're, I don't know if that happened. It sounds like they just weren't really wanting to drive, or maybe that's not the kind of players they were. But just because you
Well,
don't,
it was also a low level round robin too. So they
okay,
weren't like, you know, even if
yeah,
they did drive it, they didn't drive it that hard, you know.
right.
Uh,
So
yeah.
I mean, I think in those kind of situations, you should be trying new shots and like focusing on other things because you're not getting
Okay.
the opportunity to practice what you've been working on. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think like obviously it's just because you were more dominant. You're not trying to beat those round robin players as much too. You're trying to beat the next level of player.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't get distracted by that. Yeah, keep focusing on, and this is for me or for anyone, work on things that you need to beat the next level of player. Don't be working on things that you are already beating people with. So
Oh,
for example, like maybe I have a shot that works against 5-0s, but against 5-5s, it's not going to work. So it's like, okay, I should not practice that shot against 5-0s, even if I get tons of free points there. It's not doing me any good. I'm not going to be able to use it at the next level. So, anyways, that kind of concept. So yeah. I would just say, if you're playing games with people that are not as good, etc., focus on new shots, or be free to try new things. I'd say that's more of the time to be creative. And then if you find something that you're like, oh, that was really good. If you're drilling with someone that's maybe not like probably your worst drilling partner, I would maybe, okay, like let's work on that for an hour. That's appropriate. So anyways, you should be trying new things, especially at your level, but still keep focused. I like what you're doing already.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, let me copy and paste this link.
Did you win the round robin?
No, we didn't. We ended up getting third.
Third? So it sounds like y'all were pushed a little bit.
Yeah, it was like it was 6 games, so it wasn't that many.
Okay.
We did lose 2 games that put us in third. So that's what I'm gonna show you is those games. Let's see here. Hold on a second. I'll show you. I would say the first game we lost, I feel as though we had a good chance of winning. We lost like 9-11. But let's see. Let me show you the other game where, like, you know, we definitely got beat, you know.
Sure.
Okay. So this one, there's the link in the chat. So this one, you probably might have to fast forward it to like 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay.
Just because that's where you're gonna see the camera, you know, facing. We're gonna be facing the camera.
Okay.
And then another thing is, it's pretty windy. And this is where it's considered the bad side. Now I've learned that this is the bad side, the side that we're on. And we should have started on this side and then switched. But lesson learned, you know, because the wind is going into us now.
Right.
So as hard as you'll notice, like the serves are going to be short and like shots are going to be short, just because we're hitting into the wind.
Sure.
So, and I think that's really it gave me a lot of problems, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Did you get to choose which side at the beginning or serve?
Yeah, we did. And unfortunately, I didn't learn this lesson until afterwards, and thinking about it, like, oh, we need to end on the good side so that you know, you play more points, right? And the points are more important on so you want them on the good side, correct?
Yeah. So usually when I'm picking that, I'll usually pick side, and main factors is wind, the sun. For example, I like their side. I would have picked their side just from looking at it, just because they have a blank background. You probably have like a court in the background, so you have like people moving in the back of your vision. It's a tiny bit distracting, and you're not going to see the ball quite as good. So I would have probably picked their side just for that reason. So yeah, anyways, I usually pick side, if not side. Apparently Dane Gingrich, do you know him?
Yeah. For sure.
Apparently you get a slight advantage if you pick receive instead of serve in doubles. I can't really confirm it, but that's what he says, and he says he's done research into it. But yeah, things to consider.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, let's watch. I mean, if the wind's coming into you, you know, it's kind of, sometimes it's hard, but you can tee off on it a little bit more. Yeah, like it's like, okay, like I can hit this harder than normal.
Yeah,
What
which kind of nullified my drops. You know, like I
oh
had a hard time dropping, so I ended up trying to drive more, and
uh
you'll see that it didn't really work out for us. So
yeah.
yeah, I tried to drive more, but it was still difficult to play against the wind. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Like sometimes it's windy and we're like, oh, I don't want to drill. I don't want to play because it's windy. But the
Mhm.
problem with that is if there's a tournament, we can't control the wind and we can't just not show up to the tournament, probably.
Yeah.
So I would say if you can, when there's wind, that is a good opportunity to practice, just so you do gain some experience because that's probably the main thing you're lacking there.
Mhm.
But okay, let's watch. Let's see. Sorry, I just want to watch that one more time.
Okay.
That first one I think would have been a good one for you to take. So like their drop, like this, you should have stepped in here. Like you kind of halfway stepped in, like you kind of like, and then you didn't go, and then your partner got it.
Yeah, my partner. That's why I was like, I put my hand out. I was saying sorry, like I should have got that first one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know it after, but just remember, we talked about this a little last time. If you're already at the net and your partner's running up and it's in the middle, even if it's a little more on their side, probably take it just so that way, because it's easier for you. You have to take 2 steps rather than them take another 2 on their 6 or 7.
Mhm.
Okay. Is your forehand return to serve better or your backhand return to serve?
My backhand.
Okay. Okay. So I think you're probably standing in a pretty good spot for that. Actually, if it kind of where you stand may kind of represents a pie. If you're standing like 3/4 over, and so your backhand's going to probably get 3/4 of the balls, or if you're standing and then your forehand's going to get 1/4 of the balls. It's just kind of how it shakes out a little bit. So yeah, that's a pretty good spot to favor your backhand. Uh,
I didn't set properly before I hit the ball. I realized that.
yeah, just it looks like you didn't hit it hard
Yeah,
enough.
and I didn't hit it hard enough. Yeah.
Do you remember the one point where they were like hitting it to you and you were coming up to the net and you were like moving really good and you were like, oh, I'm drilling, like this is
Yeah.
my if we can get you doing that all the time,
Uh-huh.
like right now it kind of feels a little bit more like you're watching, like you're a little less engaged. And so far
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
so far they've mostly been hitting it to your partner.
Uh-huh.
So that, I mean, it's kind of justified, but also if you're really ready, if you're feeling really good, you're going to be playing better when you do get the ball. Have you ever watched Callie Smith play?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so just like harness your inner Callie Smith, where you're just like, let's go, like really ready to go. But yeah, I mean, just from what I remember from that point, you looked really good. If we can copy that into more places in your game, it's going to be really nice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to keep focused the whole day. But that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and maybe in rec play it matters less, but for a tournament, I think even if you don't care about it as much, just to practice like your mental game and focus, I think it's important to do it in a tournament.
Mhm. Mm.
Um, you didn't get a very good contact. You kind of like brushed it. Do you normally brush and it was like a side spin brush, and you were dropping that, right?
Uh,
maybe?
No, I think I just straight up mishit it.
Okay.
And I do have a side spin. Um Unfortunately, it's not like natural for me to like it just kind of like happens. And I think it's me adjusting to playing left-handed. I
Okay.
haven't fully I haven't fully like found my ground stroke yet with my left hand yet.
So was that a like a ground stroke drive, or was it
It
is
was
that for
like
that?
not necessarily a drive and not necessarily a drop. Like I'm trying to adjust to the wind. Like
Okay.
I can't really I couldn't like I really felt lost, to be honest with you. I felt very
Sure.
lost playing against the wind, and I couldn't figure out like. And I think I was just on the fence with a lot of the different shots that I was missing. It was just like on the fence about things. Like, oh, should I drive it or should I drop it? You know, and I think because of that hesitation and me not committing to a shot just caused a lot of errors for me, unfortunately.
Okay. One thing you can do when that happens is you could even ask your partner what they think. Like, hey, there's the wind in our face. I'm not feeling as comfortable. Do you want me to be driving it, or do you want me to be dropping it? And they can give their input, and maybe they have more experience than you, or anyways, they kind of know what they want from you, and so you can kind of
Yeah, he kind of actually kind of hinted at it, but I think I wasn't doing a good job of listening to what he was hinting at.
okay.
Uh, I think he was hinting at me driving it,
Yeah,
but then like I still hesitated to drive.
sure. And I know for me personally, I haven't had I didn't have a good drive until I still don't have a great drive. Even at like it took me until I got to 5.0. I pretty much only dropped, and with the wind when you're dropping, if it's a little bit, if it's in your face, then you got to give it a little bit more, or if it's going with you, then you got to give it a little less. So I knew how to adjust to it. But yeah, sometimes you're just really good, like you're only really good at one thing, and you have to work with what you got. It's like, okay, well, my drive's not as good as my drop, so I'm gonna drop. But it is really nice to be able to do both, for sure. If anything, the wind's a great example where it's like, well, I would pretty much always drop, but now is the time to drive. And if I've prepared it somewhat for this moment, it's a good return of investment. Okay, so basically he hinted at it and you weren't feeling comfortable enough to do it, or you, what happened?
He was hinting at it, and I guess I just wasn't committing to it. I just wasn't like, because I tried to drive before these games, right? I've tried to drive. He was hinting at it, and I tried to drive, and it was just getting blocked,
Sure.
or my drive didn't really feel like a drive. It just felt like I was just hitting it right to them, because
Yeah.
the wind was blowing it, made it slower. So then it kind of really affected my confidence by like trying to drive, and then wasn't really going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, part of it is a little bit being patient with yourself, where it's like, okay, like it's still warming up. It's still not quite there. But I'm
yeah.
gonna give it a little bit more time.
Okay,
The
okay. Just like
tricky,
give like be patient and forgive myself a little bit before
yeah,
I give up on it. Yeah.
yeah. You think like the top drivers in the game, they miss a lot more drives than like the top droppers of the game. It's a little bit more high risk, but it's high reward. Like you're probably gonna win more points with your drive than your drop. That's just the reality. But you're probably gonna miss more drives. So it's yeah, give yourself a little bit of time, be patient. The tricky part is though not not waiting, not being too forgiving to yourself. If for example you've missed 6 of your drives and you've only hit one winner, you're now like you take the winners and you divide the losers. And so, I mean, you're just in the low decimals at that point. It's really bad. So you have to be patient, but not too patient, or you'll lose.
Right.
Okay, well, let's keep watching. So especially with him returning to the person cross court from you, you should be taking a step over,
Okay.
because you want to be covering the middle ball, as well as, so because he's probably going to hit to your partner. So if you can take the middle ball, that's less pressure on your partner. And the hardest shot for him to hit is to like nail your corner. So if anything, you're going to make him hit the hardest shot. And if he hits it, you have to take one step back, which you should potentially be able to do. But also with the bait, he's most likely to miss that shot. So it's a good trade-off. So yeah, I would have taken one more big step over with you. Basically, I would have your foot on the center line, if not over the line right here.
Oh wow, even over the line. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for example, he hit it right to him. You wouldn't have been able to hit the ball, but also your partner your partner hit it with his backhand. He probably would have been able to hit the ball better, because he wouldn't have had to worry about the middle ball at all, because he knows, oh, Brian's right here. He's right here with me. I'm fine with my backhand, because he's got the middle ball. So I'll hit my forehand and I'll hit it really good.
Yeah.
So anyways, it wouldn't have really done too much, but it would have helped your partner somewhat. Shot. Yeah. I would be on the center line there. Also, I do like that y'all are half stacking. I think that's smart, because the extra running, usually it's not worth it. So yeah, half stacking is that's usually my preferred thing to do. I think that's a good choice for you. Bad luck. The only mistake there, like you hit it pretty good. You just hit it to the person already at the net. If you could have gotten it to the person that was running up, even though he was mostly up, he's still kind of off balance and a little bit off because he just ran up. So yeah, that was the one problem with that drive. Just try your best to get it to the person running up. Good. And you're moving to cover your line. That's good. I guess right now you only have two quadrants you're really thinking about. You're kind of covering your line right there, which is good. And then when it's cross court, you're kind of in the middle. I would say when the ball is the ball's in the very middle of the court, that's where you should normally be, like where you're more in the, like basically, even though you're turned around, you're usually about there. That's more where you should be standing in general. Like if the ball's in the very middle, that's where you should be standing. And then if the ball is cross court from you, almost have your foot on the center line. If not, yeah, have it on the center line or past it, depending on how far cross court it is. And then, so yeah, basically those three. So yeah, just you're moving to cover your line, but I don't think you're going over enough for the cross court ball. So we've talked about that. If for the forehand return of serve and maybe the backhand too, I don't know. Try to maybe be one more step back or be where you're at and try to like step into your return. If you can kind of step into it, you're going to get more power. Regardless of the wind, it feels like you're not getting enough oomph on your return of serve. So yeah, if you can just like kind of like take one step as you hit it, like stay balanced, but if you can get some, it should be a way to create some power without having to like do any crazy mechanics or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like on that backhand drop, where were you? How high above the net were you aiming?
I wasn't aiming.
Okay, no, you're good. Just trying to get the ball over. That's fair.
I was just trying to get the ball over. The wind started picking up, and then I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah. So I mean, usually when I'm dropping, I'm just trying to get the ball over, usually about 2 feet above the net. And then if I'm off balance or if there's wind or something, or basically if I'm not feeling as comfortable, I'm maybe aiming about 2.5 to 3 feet above the net. So like, anyways, just focus on that when like just aim for that above the net, and then your drops, and even if you're not really trying to drop it, you're just trying to hit a decent shot. 3 feet above the net's a pretty good place to aim, because then if you're off 2 feet, it's now really high, which they're smashing, but you're still in it. Or if you're off 2 feet again, it's still 1 foot above the net, and now it's a good drop. So anyways, that's something to keep in mind while you're doing your drops.
Yeah, I remember that moment now. So I ended up hitting a backhand drive, and then as soon as I hit that backhand drive, I remember like Austin said not to the backhand drive.
Right.
And then I ended up missing the next shot. Like the next shot, I messed up.
Yeah, that did look like more of a backhand drive. And just remember, pretty much for all drives, do it when you're feeling comfortable, when you're feeling good. Don't do it when you're off balance, or if you're off balance, you're not feeling as good, but you can't drop it, just get the ball in. Yeah. Good. So I mean, a couple notes on that one. So you pretty much hit 5 or 6 dinks to the same guy. Were you doing that on purpose? Like where you're hitting it?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so basically you thought you were a better dinker than him, or like that's what you felt like. Okay. And that's fair. It didn't feel like your dinks were putting a ton of pressure, but also they weren't
Yeah.
pop-ups either.
I want to get better at dinking aggressively, because like a lot of times I end up in a situation where like I feel confident that I'm a better dinker than they are, but
Sure.
I'm not at the same time I'm not putting any pressure on them. Like I feel as like I'm a better consistent dinker,
Yeah.
but then like I'm not putting any pressure, and then eventually they realize like, oh, like if I just keep on digging it back to Brian's just gonna keep on digging it to me, so I'm gonna switch it up, like that's what usually ends up happening, and I'm not putting enough pressure to where they get punished for even dinking it back to me.
Yeah. So talking about it a fair bit. So it's not, what you were doing wasn't bad. I don't think it was like great, or
Yeah, it
even,
wasn't great.
it was
It's
okay.
just consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, it was okay. So basically, you're dinking to the same spot in the middle over and over. And so a potential problem is he's not having to move for that dink at all. It's right to him. And he also, if you keep going to the exact same spot, he knows right where it's going to. So it's a lot easier for him. Basically, if you could, so watching it again, if you could go a little more, so like you go to the middle and you keep going to the middle, that's a good spot probably half the time. Even if you're wanting to pick on this guy, you're wanting to dink with him, if you could get it a little more cross court the other half of the time, or even if you're just like, I'm gonna be consistent, I don't want to be attacked, etc. If your main dink could probably not be so middle, if it could be more cross court, um,
I
it
completely agree with you. I was hesitating to do that because of the wind.
okay.
And I hate to use the wind as an excuse, but like I was a little worried that if I went cross court, um, it would go short.
Okay.
It would go into the net. That was my
Okay.
worry.
No, great.
Yeah.
That's a good excuse. Yeah,
Sorry.
I accept good excuses. I like that. So yeah,
That's what was going through my head. I was like, you're right. I usually don't put any like my dinks are usually placed well, but there's
mhm,
no real pressure on it. There's no like good spin or like uh like penetrating dink. It's usually
yeah.
just consistent but placed.
Mhm.
Um and yeah, so then yeah, I usually do better with moving the dink around, but yeah, I don't know. I just like I think the wind really got in my head or something. I don't know.
No, you're good. So yeah, I'm perfectly okay if you want to get in a dink war with someone. I would just say try to get them to move a little bit and
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
place the ball a
definitely.
little better.
Yeah.
You don't even have to necessarily like hit the ball harder or do different spins. Just that alone is gonna like double the pressure. But so an experience for myself, in the past, I've been less good at forehand dinks where they'll place it really far over to my forehand and I'm having to dink it. And I felt less confident with that. For example, if I felt like, I feel like, for example, Colin Johns or Tyson McGuffin, one of their strengths is forehand to forehand cross court dinks. And that hasn't super been a strength of mine. So it's like, okay, I don't want to put arguably a weakness of mine against their strength. So I'm just going to dink it to the middle. And it was a little higher quality than yours, but there was I wasn't putting pressure on them. I wasn't really doing anything. And eventually they're like, well, Austin's just going to keep dinking it right here. I'm going to switch it up. And so basically it hid my weakness because they couldn't take advantage of it.
Hmm.
So I wasn't winning with my weakness, but I wasn't losing with my weakness.
Right.
So anyways, what you were doing wasn't bad. It wasn't good. I
Yeah.
do like that. I do like that dinking. Um, and it ended up working, right? He did end up changing it up, and you guys did end up winning it.
Yeah.
And also, when he changed it up, he popped it up to your partner. So your patience was good there. Okay. Last point.
Mm.
Um, so the drive was good. You drove it to the person coming up to the net. Good. He hit it pretty good back.
Yeah. He
Also,
we just hit a good shot back. That's all.
yeah, I would say your backhand though, it kind of still had the feel of a drive. In that, like you kind of hit it more direct. You need to give it a little more arc and try to hit it slower. Like just be like he hit a good block. It's okay. Like I'm now hitting a backhand drop. It kind of felt like you were just still in the aggressive drive mindset, or you had a
Yeah, I think it was out of like getting set late, and then it
okay.
was like a panic, it was like kind of like a bailout backhand. My left hand backhand isn't as developed as I need it to be. Yeah.
Sure. And hey, check following up. Have you been trying your two-handed backhand?
Yeah, I've been trying my two-handed backhand. I didn't really use it for this.
Mhm.
I think you know, I think I just been like a little bit in my head about like doing backhand drives.
Uh,
A little bit worried about him. Um, but
um,
yeah, I should have whipped it out a little bit more. My two-hand like my backhand drive. Yeah.
so also talking from my experience with the two-handed backhand, probably my favorite two-handed backhand, besides like a really perfect reset with it, is my two-handed backhand drop with my left hand. Uh, it's
Oh yeah.
really nice because I have the extra stability, and I feel like it's a really good shot. So it's something you could experiment with, especially because you're ambidextrous, where you do a two-handed backhand drop.
Yeah. So
Um,
I actually okay, so this kind of leads to makes me think of a question of like the problem that I have with the using a two-hand backhand is
mhm.
that when I do it, I always do it. And when
Yeah,
I don't, I never do it. So how do you decide on when to do it or when to not to do it?
yeah. Usually for me, I more decide like what shots I'm going to use it for. So for example, it's like, okay, I'm going to two-hand backhand drop. And then I always two-hand backhand drop for the most part. Or I'm going to two-hand backhand put away. Or like I usually don't do half of something,
Yeah.
but there's lots of different backhands. Like there's backhand dinks. You could decide, okay, I'm going to backhand drop with two hands, but I'm going to backhand dink with one.
Uh-huh.
And usually that's enough distinction where you can differentiate that. But yeah, I would recommend starting with that, where you
Okay.
pick different situations, or maybe one day you only do two-handed backhands, or the other day you only do one-handed backhands, and you can kind of figure out which is better in which situation, and then you can
Oh, I
pick
see.
when to use it.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I just recommend it. Try experimenting with a two-handed backhand drop. Uh, for me, it works really good. It could be
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
nice for
No,
you.
it actually works really well for me too. I've done it before.
Okay.
I just kind of, for some reason, I just kind of stopped doing it. I think it's because of the blocking drills. The blocking drills, I only really have time to use one hand,
Okay.
and then all of a sudden, I just started using one hand for everything. But
Okay.
yeah, I'll start doing it again. Yeah.
Okay. And then and also talking about it, it feels like I think with this match, it just looks like you're uncomfortable, and it's probably due to the wind. Like everyone else looks a little more comfortable than you
You're
do.
right. You're right.
So yeah, just try, even if you are uncomfortable, try to move and act like you're comfortable, and
Hmm.
gradually you're going to mentally get comfortable as well.
Mm,
And it is really important that you're feeling comfortable.
yeah.
Um, but it's kind of the concept where if you're kind of in charge, you're feeling comfortable, you're probably going to win, even for the pros. If you're on your back foot, you're in trouble. Like you could potentially win, but I'm gonna bet on the team that's looking comfortable.
Hmm.
So, anyways, yeah, just pay attention to that as well.
Hmm.
Okay. But yeah, yeah, lots to work on. Yeah, are you gonna be able to get good pickleball this week?
Yeah, I have my league thing tonight, and then it might there might be a storm tonight, but we'll see how that pans out.
Okay.
And then yeah, like yeah, I should get a lot of pickleball in today, this week. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Well, hey, is it the same time next week? Good.
yeah, yeah. Same time next week. It's great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me 1 second.